Ramayana is a Sanskrit poem ascribed to the Hindu sage and Sanskrit poet Valmiki. It is regarded as one of the two great works of Indian literature and is an important role in Hindu literature. It depicts the duties of relationships, portraying ideal characters such as the ideal father, the ideal servant, the ideal brother, the ideal wife, and the ideal king. The Ramayana consists of 24,000 verses in 7 books. It tells the story of Rama, whose wife Sita is abducted by Ravana, and who is the king Lanka. The 7 books in which the Ramayana is divided up into are called the Book of Childhood, the Book of the Forest, the Book of the Monkey Kingdom, the Book of Beauty, Book of War, and the last book.
The section of the movie that I decided I would like to talk about is the story of the bow in Sampurna Ramayana. This story is a challenge to see who is strong enough to marry the king's daughter, Sita. Sita was only to marry a man who was worthy enough for her. In the Hindu religion, marriages tend to be set up by someone other than the actual person getting married. Some sections of Hinduism have a priest help and try to set up the perfect match. Other Hindus would set their marriage up depending on the alignment of the stars or even the year that they were born in. This tradition was so strong that no one even began to question it. It didn't really matter if people had anything in common or really were truly in love with each other. The only thing that mattered was that the family of these people liked the opposite sex that was getting married to their daughter or son. None of these factors happen to be the case in this movie, though. This movie had quite the opposite turn on how people would pick who they would marry. Here, there is a challenge to pick up the bow of Shiva and shoot an arrow from it, or even break the bow in half. This task is considered impossible for any type of ordinary king or living being, as this is the personal weapon of Shiva, more powerful, holy, and of divine creation than conceivable. There are multiple of the strongest warriors in the land at the kingdom to attempt to accomplish this. After 3 men fail to complete this task, the king is disappointed and a bit mad at these warriors. They were known to be strong and powerful, but the king ended up finding himself saying, "I realize my mistake. I invited cowards instead of heroes." A smaller man by the name of Laxman interrupts the king's rant and begins to boast about his brother. He says that his brother Rama is the strongest man and will be able to pick up the bow and break it up into tiny, tiny little pieces. Rama stands up and attempts this challenge because he feels that he can also complete the task. He was able to pick up the bow and begins to string it. While attempting to string the bow, Rama breaks it into 2. This feat of strength spreads his fame across the worlds and seals his marriage with Sita. I found it somewhat strange that Rama didn't stand up earlier for himself, being that he was so strong and powerful and that he had some interest in getting married to Sita. I feel that if I were Sita, I would have wanted him to stand up earlier, but something tells me that he wasn't as interested as he might have seemed. Following the scene of the bow, you see Sita running throughout the entire kingdom, going from woman to woman in excitement that she will finally get married. She seems excited at first, but little does she know things are about to turn around.
The part of the movie that I chose to focus on and the part that I found most interesting, in my opinion, was the scene where Rama gets exiled from the kingdom. To summarize what happened in the movie, it starts out with the king who has multiple wives in the kingdom, and with all of these multiple wives, he has children with almost all of these women, if not all of them. Then the next scene that we see in the movie is one of his wives comes in and is talking to him privately, and she reaches out to him and asks him simply, which wife does he seem to like the best? Which one is his favorite? So she asks this, and he responds by saying she is his favorite. So, reasoning behind this is because the scene before, very beginning of the movie, when Rama goes up to the bow and is able to pick it up and break the bow, he therefore becomes the heir to the throne to become the next king of the kingdom. So the reason she came to the king was because she wanted to find out which wife was his favorite. And because she now has been told that she is his favorite wife, she wants to make sure that his son, their son together, will become the new heir to the throne and not Rama. She also requested for Rama to not only not become the heir of the throne and her son to become it, but also for him to be banned or exiled, which is the main theme of this part of the story, but to be exiled from the kingdom for 14 years. So the king, listening to this and wanting to make sure that he doesn't upset her, he listens to what she says and to what her request is, and he sits unresponsive during the movie, but follows her request. When Rama is given the news about the fact that he has to be exiled and removed from the kingdom for 14 years, he takes the news a weird way, and he actually takes it really well. And this is the part that I picked on that I was really most interested in. And the reason I was really interested in it was because he leaves and takes the information without any haste, without any arguments. And the reason he does this is because he views this information and these, reasoning behind why he has to leave, he takes it as his duty, and he wants to make sure that as his duty, he will listen and leave like they ask, with no questions asked. And the reason I found this so interesting was because I can relate it to how in Hinduism, Dharma is such a big deal for the people. And the reason it's interesting and the reason you can kind of combine these two themes together is because Dharma is a person's duty or a person's law. And Rama is seeing this information and being told that he has to be exiled from the kingdom, and he's taking this as his dharma in a way. And his dharma is to be exiled and to leave the kingdom. So he's taking it as his duty, like I said before, and his almost as if it's a law for him to leave. So that's really the most important theme that I found during this part of the movie. But I thought it was definitely interesting, and I thought it was really cool that you can compare it to Dharma and make the link through Hinduism religion also in this movie. And you can, I know in the movie they're not necessarily trying to portray Dharma, but that's kind of what I picked up on, and that's what I really wanted to choose to talk about in this video. So overall, not the biggest scene in the movie. Definitely other scenes might have been more impactful, but I saw this movie as something important and something that we can relate to as students of the class, because we talked about Dharma so much, not only in the lessons that we went through during the week, but also in books and articles and stuff that we read throughout the class. So these are the main reasons that I chose to talk about this in the video presentation. And now I'm going to pass it over to my next partner in the group and have him talk about his theme that he picked on in the movie.
So, following up on the Exile, I really wanted to focus on Rama's character throughout the entire movie. Many of his characteristics that he had, and many people would have lost, he never lost. Such as his sense of duty. Even after his father banished him, he said, "Life is useless without an ideal. Being your son, if I can't keep a promise given by you and fulfill a mother's wish, then I'm not worthy to be your son." Rama never even questioned going out into exile, and even after the father died, he didn't quit on the exile. He said, "It is my duty to obey him." And then when he was arguing with his brother Bharata, He said, then for his sake, I'll stay in exile all my life. Rama's sense of duty, that dharma, is always there. And that dharma is also to himself. And it's consistent throughout the entire movie. He says, upon leaving, while being exiled, to rule the world one doesn't need these clothes nor garments, nor neither power nor army. Rama seems to be cautious about this very grandiose sort of life. So when a golden goat passes their home later in the movie, he says that the beauty pretty much isn't what it seems to be. There could be more than meets the eye, and of course there was. That was a great foreshadowing by him. He shoots the goat, and the goat runs, and it ends up to be a human who tricks Lakshman to come out, and while they're out there, Sita ends up getting stolen. So now he's on the chase for Sita, and he still is consistent with his values. Eventually, he gets in a fight with Ravyana, and he bows to him before the fight. That's something that I was really confused about. But he said he was bowing to a certain part of his character, which was really interesting. It was so humble. It was his humility was there throughout the entire movie. This sense of humility and dharma that he showed seemed to inspire the entire city. While he was leaving, people were crying. People were trying to get him to stay, but he wouldn't stay. He was following his father's orders. And there was a couple scenes where fires were being extinguished. You could see a candle be blown out, and they would show smoke, or there was a fire pit that was supposed to be a celebration, and it was seen dead. And Bharata came out to him when he tried to get him to return and pretty much said, the city's dead without you. They need you. You have to come back. Although he loves his people, he didn't come back because of that sense of dharma. But I think that tells us a lot about Rama. He was an inspiration to everyone in the city. When he left, the life seemed to leave. And what sucked the life out of the city was the evil mother and her evil maid, which were called vampires. Literally life suckers. They just destroyed the city.
A theme in the film Sampurana Ramayana was a husband and wife's close relationship. This theme shows how husband and wife do things for one another because of the love they share and commitment they have. One example is when Kai, one of the king's wives, asks her husband to grant her 2 wishes if he truly loves her. The king accepts her request to grant her 2 wishes. Her first wish is for her biological son, Bharat, to be king. Her second wish is exiling Rama for 14 years, thus not allowing him to be king and influence Bharat in any way. Another example is when Sita finds it as her duty as Rama's wife to go with Rama into exile. She does this because she does not want the people to think she does not care for her husband. She is afraid that people will say that she was only with Rama because he was set to be king. With her going to exile with Rama, this shows that she is dedicated to him and will be with him even in the rough and inconvenient times. A key point to this is that Rama did not have to ask Sita to go with him. When Rama announced to the women that he was going to be exiled for 14 years, Sita immediately disappeared from the scene, only to be found waiting with Rama at the exit. Again, this shows Sita's devotion to her husband. In another scene of the movie, Rama and Lakshman are approached by Shurpanakha, who seems to be a beautiful young maiden. She first begins to dance around Rama provocatively, trying to seduce him and persuade him to marry her. Rama, unfazed by the dances, asks her what she's doing. She explains how she is attracted to him and wishes to marry him. Rama, being faithfully married to Sita, declines her offer. This represents the common theme of a husband and wife's faithful commitment in marriage. She not only dances for Rama, but Lakshman as well. He too denies her desperate plea. In another example, we see the theme portrayed again. Sita sees a golden deer and wishes of having golden deer to make a blouse from it. Rama is reluctant at first to kill the golden deer,
but goes off to kill it anyways because he wants to make his wife happy. Rama's change of thought shows his devotion to her. It is ironic that this theme of a husband and wife's close relationship is seen throughout the movie, but at the end, Rama banishes Sita because he feels that his duty to the people is more important. Although we see his love and close devotion to Sita, he knows that the loyalty from his people plays a more crucial part in his life.
Custom and traditions have always been a part of every religion and culture. As Hinduism is the oldest religion on earth, there are a lot of Hindu customs and traditions. Many of these traditions can be seen in the movies Sampurana Ramayana. Clothing, for example, is identified with colorful silk saris worn by many of the country's women. Sita is seen throughout the movie wearing these traditional outfits. Rama is also seen wearing a dhoti throughout the movie, which is an unstitched piece of cloth that is tied around the waist and legs. Jewelry is also very traditional to the religion and people. Jewelry is considered to be a sign of future success, which is why you will see many of the heirs to the throne wearing jewelry that was passed down to them. It has been linked to wealth, power, and status. The king and his wives in the movie can be seen covered in gold and precious jewels. Not only is jewelry created for humans, but also for the gods. There are certain pieces which look like elephants and horses. This is similar to the book Bhagavad Gita because it demonstrates that the gods have certain characteristics, such as how one of the gods had an elephant ear and tusk. That is unique to their religion because other religions, such as Christianity, doesn't have one specific physical representation, which can be related and visualized as God.